Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer. Now, a number of my viewers have said to me they'd love to know how to go about filming stuff because they've been inspired by my walking in the countrysides and explorations of heritage landscape and nature, and they would love to do it. They haven't got all the big fancy equipment, but they have got their phone, and they'd love to perhaps during lockdown go out, film a walk and share it with friends and family, or even put it on Facebook or YouTube. And I thought, actually, yeah, maybe I could do some hints and tips in a video for those people who want to do something extra whilst they're out going on a walk. So this video is 10 little tips to help you. And if this goes down well, I will make another bit. So this is all about filming. Now, I'm going to assume that people really only have their phones, and that's all we're going to use. We're not using tripods, we're not using gimbals, we're not doing anything fancy, but how to improve making a very simple video of perhaps a walk or a visit somewhere, and you want to put it together in a very simple way and share it with your friends. Now, on another video, I'll look at the editing side of it. So this is purely about how to make the filming part better. Because let's face it, if you don't have the material to begin with, then no matter how you edit it, it's going to be tricky. So it's better to start at first base with some good material. And you often see people going out filming with their phones in some extraordinary manner, which makes it very difficult to look at. So this is about improving that just with your phone. So let's get into it. Number one, phone. Filming on the phone for things like Facebook or YouTube, or for your smart TVs or anything like that, film horizontally, that way. Turn the phone this way. It's how we see things. Our eyes are two apart, less like me, you've only got one, and we film that way. If you're doing it for Instagram, that's different, that's a different purpose. Then you might want to film it in portrait mode, but ordinarily, there we are, got the light on, but ordinarily film it that way. So that's tip number one. So many times, because otherwise when you put that onto an ordinary time frame, you just get this very narrow picture and you've wasted the sides of the frame. So film horizontally. Number two is when you're filming and you want to talk to the camera, very often you'll see people talking to their camera and they make the mistake of looking at themselves in the camera's film, in the screen, on the screen. They look at themselves and they think, oh yeah, but actually what they're doing is looking away from the camera that's filming. The screen doesn't film you. There's a tiny little camera on the end, usually, of the phone, not in the middle. So what you need to do is look at the little camera, not at the screen. It's so easy, because what happens is it looks like you're actually looking past the person filming. So here's an example of what I mean. So this is an example of me with my wonky eye talking directly to the camera, which is there. But if I look at the screen, which I'm doing now, it's probably not so easy to tell with my phone, with my eye rather, whether I'm looking straight at it. But it's better to look at the camera, the little dot thing, than to look at the screen. See what I mean? It's so much better if you're looking at the lens rather than at the screen. Number three, you'll see a lot of people will take lots of wobbly shots. They'll go around here and they'll film a bit there and they'll film a bit here, and the camera is sort of moving all over the place. It becomes difficult to watch that. And I know that you're trying to capture the whole scene, but it becomes awkward and it can make you feel unwell. Some people do actually find it too difficult to watch at all. So the answer to that is to shoot lots of simple static shots. Get the camera, you can see the screen your side, hold the camera and hold it still. Frame up what you think is going to be a nice shot and hold it still, and then do another one, somewhere else, and another one somewhere else. Here's an example. Number 4, don't pan back. You'll see some people, they'll pan along like this and they'll get it, and they may be talking about it, and then they start panning back again, and then they'll go back again, and in the end you're just swinging from side to side. It looks dreadful, and you don't need to. People have seen it. So if you're going to pan, have a much better start position with your pan. Frame it up so it's really nice, and then slowly go from one place to the other. So that's really my number 5, is have a start position, take it slowly, and then get to a stop position. That way you have a nice shot with beginning and end. It might be a little bit wobbly because you're holding it, but let's not worry too much about that. It's so much better than swinging it around like this and trying to get up and down and all of that. It just looks so amateurish. Number 6. Well, this is a personal choice really, but I would advise you, if you've got your editing software, very often they'll offer you lots of snazzy effects. Avoid them like the plague. Also transitions, where you go from one shot into another shot, and you'll get all these different ways of cutting in, star shapes, clock dissolves, all sorts of things. Don't use them. It looks naff and it doesn't really help your video. There is a time and a place for a transition. Mostly I would advise just cutting from one shot, and we'll look at this in the editing when we do one about editing. So you've got your static shot over here of something, you've got another static shot of that over there. You're going to simply cut to the 2 shots, which is why we're taking a series of static shots, and then in the edit, when we put it together, we will put those together and they will just cut from one to the other. Now, there may be times when you need to dissolve, and a dissolve has the effect of almost like suggesting time has passed, or you've moved somewhere else, or the scene has changed. But when you're building up the first scene of a shot at this and a shot at that and a shot at this, you don't need to dissolve. You really don't. So try to resist that. But if you'd gone to a different location, you might dissolve at the beginning of that second scene. So, but the rest of the transitions and the rest of the stuff, avoid them like the plague because they just look naff. Number 7, when you're out filming with your phone, it's very easy to sort of think, oh yeah, and hold it here and get a shot here and get a shot here. And we've got that now practiced down to a T. And that's all very well. However, if we're filming everything like this and like this and like that, whatever, it can start to look a bit samey or a little bit boring. So try variety of shots. Still static shots, which is nice to build stuff up, unless of course you're following something like a bus or a person or a vehicle or a person or something like that. Then you can go with it. That's a different thing altogether. But if you're just doing a series of shots, why not get low and look up? Why not get high and look down? Why not get closer and film in? Here's an example. So with those variety of shots, you start thinking about what it is you're putting together. You may have got your establishing shot, which is a nice wide shot. You might go in for a close-up. You might physically move closer. Your phone may not be able to zoom in. This one doesn't really zoom in very well. And so you have to move in yourself and get a nice close-up. And that variety makes the video, when it's all put together, so much more interesting. Number 8, Sometimes you may want to have some explanation, of course, in your video to explain where it is you are or what you're doing or what you're seeing or where you're walking. And because phones don't always have the best sound, they may have actually good sound, but because they're so susceptible to wind noise, and wind of course is everywhere, sometimes it's better to simply worry about the audio afterwards, film the bits that you want to film, and then if you need to explain it, you could just do a voiceover afterwards. You've got so much more control. You can look up the facts that you might want to throw in during that voiceover, so you can have them on a piece of paper, and do all of that afterwards, rather than being on location and trying to film and get out that information without too many ers and ahs or the wind hitting the microphone. Something to think about, unless of course you're quite confident at performing in front of the camera, and that can take a little bit of time. So don't feel that you can't have information coming in. Instead of lots of text on the screen, often you see people shoving lots of text to try and explain things. People don't want to read anything when they're watching. They'd rather hear any information. So try doing that perhaps afterwards as a voiceover. And when we do the editing, I'll show you how that's done. Tip number 9, quite a simple one. Try and keep your videos short, especially if you're sharing them with other people. People are busy, they get the idea very quickly, they haven't got hours to watch a video, especially if it's one that is perhaps a holiday video or a party video or something like that, something that's, you know, a family thing. If they're not in it, people can get very bored very quickly. So keep everything short. Obviously, there's a midway point between things being incredibly short that it was meaningless to the point that it's too long and boring. So just try and keep that video much shorter, and it's usually a lot shorter than you think it should be. So half the time you'll get to the edit and then you'll think, oh, that was great, but actually you could probably half it. And tip number 10 is whenever you make a video, you're telling a story. If you're making a video and it's just a series of random clips, it's not really telling a story. But the story doesn't have to be a complicated or complex story. Just going on a walk is the story as itself, but it should have a beginning, a middle and an end. So the beginning might simply be, hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm going on a walk. Then the middle is actually some of the stuff that you see on the walk, and then the end is that, well, I finished my walk now, I hope you've enjoyed it, see you next time. That is in itself a very, very simplistic story, but it's better that than just no introduction, no idea what the video is about, and just a series of random shots just put together with a bit of music and a title that simply says New Forest. Better to get some sense of story, some sense that you're going somewhere and doing something. Anyway, these are just very simplistic hints and tips, and if this goes down well and if you enjoy this and you want to see more, then do let me know and I will make another video in more detail. And we'll also look at the editing of, once you've got those clips, how do you put them together so that they make a video, and then that you can master it off so you end up with that one video that you can send to friends, put on social media, and even send in, if you wish, to the Vobes show where we show people's videos. If you've enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment, become a patron, support what I do, and I'll bring you some more hints and tips next time. But until then, when you're out on a walk, why not give it a whirl? Take a few shots and see if we can make a video. Till next time, bye-bye.